Hey guys, how you doing? So a while back I posted a video on Ubisoft's upcoming game, Assassin's Creed Shadows. In that video I said that the series is, quote, dying. And, nowadays it's always the same. And apparently some of you didn't like that. The comments that stuck the most with me all had something in common. They all said, if you played Mirage you wouldn't think that. And I thought that was really interesting to see. So I bought the game and will give my opinion on it. So let's get going.
A few moments later.
Well guys, after playing the game for almost 10 hours now, I can say, it's been actually really fun so far. But before jumping into any conclusions, let's start from the beginning. So we play as Bossy. Basim Ibn, hold up, let me just.
باسم ابن عشاق.
Yeah, that. A man born around 844 in modern-day Iraq, and spends most of his journey on the current capital of the country, Baghdad, which can we just take a minute to appreciate how beautiful it is in this game. I love that they brought back the aesthetic of being a stealthy killer that hides in the shadows of a sacred Middle Eastern city. I mean, it's no holy land, but still, the settings are one of my favorite things in these games, and this one couldn't be better. The story has been a bit underwhelming, as is the case with the most recent games in the franchise, but I'm still in the beginning so I think I'll uncover more as I progress. When reviewing this game, I thought it would only make sense to try and compare it with the most similar AC games to this one, those being the original Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed Origins from 2017. I don't need to go much in depth with Assassin's Creed 1, since it's a classic and everyone kinda knows what it's like. The things that it shares with Mirage are the stealth, which makes sense since Ubisoft wanted to bring back the OG sense of stealth that lacked in most recent games, and the urban exploration that Odyssey and Valhalla also kinda missed. Simply the vibe of traversing a sacred city of the Middle East, especially with the great parkour of this game, was an incredible decision by the devs. And in my opinion, there couldn't have been a better choice than Baghdad. Now speaking of Origins, which I personally never played, but did my research on, they both have the desert aspects as central parts of the games, that being the reason why so many things in Mirage are copy-pasted from Origins, which is not a bad thing since Origins was a great game that revitalized the series. The realistic trait of the world and people of AC Origins is also incorporated in Mirage. Origins is said to be the most historically accurate game in the franchise, and that historians teaching about Egypt use the game as reference. That trait is preserved in Mirage that beautifully recreates Baghdad, with the houses, palaces and mosques. It also portrays Arabic very faithfully and the customs of the Muslim people of the time. Now that I've talked about the positive aspects of Mirage and its similarities with the other two games, I'm gonna talk about the downsides I've found so far. If you have ever played or even heard of this game before, you'll know that the combat of this game is a little disappointing, both in the variety of attacks and of weapons. Apart from other tools, Basim is limited to a sword, a dagger, and of course the hidden blade. Now even though there are many kinds of swords to choose from, it would have been nice to include some more variety. I mean, in AC3 and Unity, there were a plethora of different weapons to choose from, even though a lot of them were guns, which didn't exist at the time of Mirage. I personally am not really picky in terms of weapons, but I am acknowledging it because I understand how it could infect other players. Now speaking of the combat, it went back to the old combat system of the first games. That is all based around countering and parrying attacks from enemies. And there's something I can understand about the stamina. There's a big cutscene in the beginning that shows Basim training, and supposedly years have passed. So why hasn't his stamina improved? And I agree with a lot of people online that say the combat is clunky and outdated. It's also a very melee style. You know, like when you hit a guard with a sword, he doesn't even react, like the sword is made out of plastic or something. Overall, I think it was a step back from what was built during the 2010s. And lastly, I have seen a lot of complaining online, saying that the controls are not responsive and that it negatively affects both combat and parkour, which surprisingly has not been the case for me. Everything has been very responsive and smooth so far. I know, there are quite a few bugs, and the game isn't as polished as it could have been, and that is one of the reasons for my statement in the other video. But now playing the game itself, I can say that it's quite alright. So, what did I think of the game in general? Well, it definitely changed my original opinion on it. Yes, there are quite a few downsides, but I wouldn't agree with people that say it's trash. So, if I had to give it a rating, it would be about 7.4 out of 10. Well, that's all for today, guys. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, and if you still don't agree with my opinion, I can say that, at least it's better than Odyssey.